Here we go. So we are working on our folk tale, or I should say folklore unit, and I wanted to honor one of our sixth grade students who actually went ahead and looked at these essential questions and made a little Google Doc and typed in just a couple short answers. Essential questions really help us kind of focus our learning and understand why it is that we're doing what we're doing. You just kind of understand the whole purpose behind folklore in this particular instance. That's what we're studying is folklore. So let's take a look at this really cool document that was started by TJ. And I've also shared it with all of you. So all of you are able to type on it. Um, a couple kids from my last class actually added a little bit to it, so that was cool. It's really easy for me to see who does what on Google Documents because I have this handy dandy thing over here that tells me who's been on it. But anyway, let's look at question number one together. All right, so the first question about folklore is how does it represent the diversity of a society? And diversity, if you don't know what that word means, it just means differences in people. Okay, so a lot of different people in society. Okay, so TJ wrote, and I totally agree with this, that folklores connect people because then all of the different types of people can relate. I'm going to add to that and say relate to the same. Okay, the cat is in my way. Let me type, kitty. To the same morals and traditions. Very good. I'm going to turn your microphones on. Does anybody else have any other thoughts for question number one? How it represents the diversity or differences in a society? Okay, this is something that if you want to later on, you could come back and add your thoughts to. You could just add a new sentence. Let's move on to number two. I don't want to spend too much time looking at this, but it is important to go over these essential questions. How are oral traditions tied to folklore? So, oral traditions are telling a story, not writing it down. So, oral means telling. Folklores are told from one generation to the other for many years, and this is an oral tradition. Traditions are passed on through many generations. So that's right. I mean, in the story sometimes changes slightly because when you tell a story and you don't write it down, the next time somebody tells a story, it might change slightly, but it's still passed on through many generations, and the moral that it teaches usually stays the same. All right. How does folklore from other countries relate to themes from our country? And TJ wrote, I think a folklore or folklore story, I should say. Let's add that. From another country relates to themes from our country because usually folklores teach people about a moral. So most people can have the same morals and so they can relate to everyone. So that's kind of cool to think about that people in a different country can learn the same lesson that we learn just by sharing folk tales and these different stories. All right, this is cool. How is ancestry? And if you don't know what ancestry is, that means where your old relatives come from. So, how is ancestry linked to folklore? And TJ wrote, he's part Scottish, so his ancestors would tell him folklore stories from Scotland, so he can be linked to his ancestry. So that is one way that you can connect to your ancestors. You might never be able to visit Scotland or Germany or wherever your family might have originated, but you can still be linked to that through these folklore stories. And Dakota's sharing that his brother is also Scottish, so Dakota, when we get to assignment number two, you're going to be researching your own folk tales. So maybe you
All
would
right.
want to look at one in Scotland. That'd be kind of cool.
All right.
And then, what purpose does folklore serve to a community? And we wrote, the community is served by teaching the morals and lessons from the folklore stories. So a community is served by having the same type of morals and the same lessons, and basically maybe that involves the same laws that are created. And people can be taught lessons and morals through fun stories, maybe instead of just being told not to do something. You know what I mean? So maybe you can learn a lesson through a fun story instead of having to, just have your parents tell you something. Okay. So that was really cool, TJ. I want to make sure you pat yourself on the back for starting this and looking at those essential questions on our folklore unit. So that was really cool. Okay. So let's back up a little here. All right. So last week we were introduced. Sorry, let me silence my phone there. It's usually off. Sorry about that. Last week we were introduced to assignment number 1, and we were all put into different groups, looking at different fables and myths and fairy tales and tall tales and folk tales. We also went through what each of these different types of folklore stories are, and their different characteristics. So let's go back to our assignments, and then we can just kind of jump right into it and see who we have here today with us and where we can start. Um, okay, so today for the Rooster and the Pearl, we have TJ with us. For Johnny Appleseed, doesn't look like we have any 6th graders. For Briar Rabbit, we have Kaylee S., who did a fantastic job filling out the sequence chart. And we have Kaylee P. and Jack, who will help her describe the story. And for the Bear Prince, we have Christian and Ashley here with us today. And hopefully Jeremy was able to add to that as well, because I have not seen him join us yet. All right. Anybody want to volunteer to get started? Oh, Jeremy, you are here. Yay. Hi, Jeremy. Okay, so don't everybody speak at once. Oh, you guys are funny. I've looked at these and you all have done a great job. One thing that I think was confusing for some people is when they clicked on assignment 1, a lot of you went down here to this sequence chart and you were trying to fill in my blank sequence chart. You were like, I want to type right onto this one. That's not the one that I wanted you to do your assignment on. I actually created a specific sequence chart for each of those different stories. You can see the titles right here. And that was the one that I wanted you guys to actually do the work on. So I know, a couple people were kind of frustrated saying that their group members weren't helping them. But a lot of those kids who weren't helping were trying to do it on this blank sequence chart, which was maybe confusing for them. But nevertheless, we are here now and we're going to go ahead and just jump right in. I'm going to start with the Rooster and the Pearl because we only have one student here with us today, and that's TJ, to represent this group. And I'm going to go ahead and read it for him. So you were supposed to basically list the events in order and then at the end write a summary. And this group did a really great job. There were a lot more kids in the last VC that was in this particular group. Okay, so in the Rooster and the Pearl, first, Rooster went down to the yard looking for food. He gobbled down a piece of barley corn. Rooster stretched his neck up high and stretched his wings in delight. Next, he shook all of his feathers and strutted to the far side of the yard. I'm not sure why this is highlighted. I'm going to unhighlight that because it's confusing. His eyes were alert, looking for more good food. He was searching for more barley and corn, things that the other chickens overlooked. Then he saw something glimmering. He dug out a very large pink pearl. He stared at the pearl, first with his right eye and then with his left. The pearl was so hard that the rooster could not break it open with his beak. Jeremy, you probably lost your sound because I have you muted right now. Last, the pearl rolled a few inches away and landed by a piece of barley or corn. The rooster pounced on the corn and slipped on the pink pearl. Rooster eyed the pearl and pecked it again, and he didn't break it open. He was disgusted. Rooster preferred corn over the pearl. Okay, before I share what this group came up with, does anybody want to type into the chat, or I'll turn your microphones on, and share what you think the moral of this story is? Maybe what the rooster has learned from this experience. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to type. Your microphones are also on if you would rather just share. So, what do you think the rooster might have learned from this whole experience of trying to peck at this beautiful, large pink pearl and getting nothing from it? Okay, all right. So, let's look at what the group members said. The moral of this story is that, whoops, sorry, went too far. The moral of this story is that some things are precious to someone and worthless to others. So, has anybody ever heard that expression, one man's trash is another man's treasure? I know you have. And there's even a song out right now that I think most of you have probably heard called Poppin' Tags and One Man's Trash is Another Man's Treasure. Okay. All right. So, in this situation, this beautiful, glimmering, pink, large pearl means nothing to a rooster. Okay. All right. So, the rooster in the story did not know what to do with the pink pearl. He couldn't eat it. The rooster just wanted to find more barley and corn to eat, and the pink pearl kind of got in his way. So, what is the true value of the pearl? Hmm. The true value of the pearl to the rooster is nothing. The true value to the pearl, if maybe, the farmer had come along and found it, would be quite different. Do you agree? Yay! Okay, so I'm getting some yeses. I agree. And a couple, I love that song. All right, that's great. Hopefully you can listen to that song now and think about this particular folk tale. Do you see how lessons are passed on and on and on through generations for years and years to come? I mean, this is a really old story. And of course, that song, Poppin' Tags, is a very new song. All right. Let's take a look at some of the kind of cool wordles that the people in this group did. They're all very different. Okay, those are the pictures, and here are some of the important words that they chose for their wordles. We have pink and precious. I really like this verb strutted. It's a very cool word. I'm glad they chose to use that. All right. So TJ, give yourself a big pat on your back. The rooster and the pearl group did a great job. Yay! All right, let's type into the chat which one of these groups would like to go next. All right, so maybe I will choose for you. We're going to go to Briar Rabbit, earns $1 a minute. And this group involved, I think it was Jack and Kaylee S. And who was the other person that was in this group? Kaylee P. That was it. Okay. All right, so I'm going to turn on Kaylee P and Jack's microphones. And you guys are going to kind of take turns going through the summary. All right, Jack, why don't you tell us what happened first in this story?
Okay, how do you pronounce it real quick?
Briar
Like,
Fox.
okay. Briar Fox decided to plant himself a patch of goober's peas. Ba-
Briar.
Briar Rabbit Briar Fox planting the goobers, and he told his children and Miss Rabbit where they could find the patch.
Mm-hmm.
The little rabbits and Bear Rabbit could sneak in and grab up them goobers by handfuls.
Okay. So I'm gonna actually gosh darn it, I keep doing that. I wanna take the color away from all of this because it makes it kind of hard to read, I think. So let's just take that away for now. Um, all right, so we have Briar Fox, and he decided to plant some goober peas. We have Briar Rabbit. He watched Briar Fox. Okay, so the rabbit is watching the fox where he plants them, and he told should be Ms. Rabbit. There we go, where they can find it. And then the little rabbits and Briar Rabbits would sneak up and grab all of these peas that the fox had planted by the handfuls. Kaylee P., what happened next?
When Briar Fox came back, he could hardly find a pea to call his own. And then Briar Fox was very mad when he realized someone was stealing his goober berries.
Mm-hmm.
Briar Fox had a plan. He set a trap where he thought a rabbit could fit through. The trap would bring Briar Rabbit up in the air and hang him upside down.
Ooh, all right. So basically, this fox is going to take action against the person, or I guess animal, who is stealing from him. All right. Okay, Jack, it should be a little easier to read now, so go ahead and tell us what then happened.
Okay, the next morning, Bear Rabbit came to the goober pea patch. He accidentally came to the spot where the fox set up the trap. At the time, he didn't know he was trapped, so he just walked over it and got trapped.
Okay, so the trap has worked. All right, Kaylee P., what happened last?
Sorry, my thing was muted.
It's okay.
Briar Rabbit saw Briar Bear, and right away he came up with a plan. Hi, Briar Bear. Hi, Briar Bear. Bear. Briar Bear squinted around, wondering where the voice had come from. Then he looked up and saw Briar Rabbit swinging from the sapling. Hi, Briar Rabbit, Briar Bear rumbled. How are you this morning? Middlin', Bear. Briar Rabbit replied, just middlin'.
Okay. All right, so let's have Keely S. tell us how the story ended. Just go ahead and wrap it up for us. Did Briar Bear rescue Briar Rabbit? Or did he just leave him in the trap? What happened?
Well, I wasn't really able to finish because I was confused when everybody wasn't doing anything.
Right?
So I didn't really read the rest of the story.
Oh,
I
okay.
just
Well,
kind of added things when they
we
said
have an opportunity to go to the story right now, and we will just kind of scroll down towards the end and we'll read it together. Let's start right here. Briar Rabbit. Let's start with this paragraph. Let's have Jack go ahead and read that paragraph.
Brer Rabbit laughed and laughed at the sight of the bear up in the sapling. He scampered down the road to Brer Fox's place and told him that the trap was sprung. The goober thief was hanging from the hickory tree.
Okay, so
Brer
let's stop
Fox.
there for a second. It looks like, if I can just kind of infer, it looks like maybe the rabbit tricked the bear, because this is exactly where she left off actually, into getting into the trap and setting him free. So let's back up a little bit, and Kaylee P, why don't you start reading these couple paragraphs? Let me make sure that you are, oh, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Briar Bear was wondering why Briar Rabbit was up in the tree, so he asked him about it. Briar Rabbit grinned and said that he was earning $1 a minute from Briar Fox. $1 a minute, Briar Bear exclaimed. What for?
I'm keeping the crows away from his goober patch, Briar Rabbit explained, and he went on to say that Briar Fox was paying $1 a minute to whomever would act as a scarecrow for him. So the Briar Rabbit is sitting here trying to trick the bear into getting into the trap. Well, Briar Bear liked the sound of that. He had a big family to feed, and he could use the money. When Briar Rabbit asked him if he would like to have the job, Briar Bear agreed. Briar Rabbit showed him how to bend the sapling down and remove the knot from his forepaws. When Briar Rabbit was free, the bear climbed into the knot, and soon he was hanging aloft between heaven and earth, swinging to and fro from the sapling and growling at the birds to keep them away from the goober patch. Briar Rabbit laughed and laughed at the sight of Briar Bear up in the sapling. He scampered down the road to Briar Fox's place, and this is kind of what he was saying. That he told him that they caught the goober thief. Okay. Skipping ahead, Briar Rabbit knew that Briar Bear would be plenty mad at him when he found out that he had been tricked, so he ran all the way down the road and hid in the mud beside the pond so that only his eyeballs stuck out, making him look like a big old bullfrog. By and by, a very grumpy Briar Bear came lumbering down the road. Howdy, Briar Bullfrog, Briar Bear said when he saw Briar Rabbit's eyes sticking out of the mud. You seen Briar Rabbit anywhere? Briar Rabbit just ran on down the road, he told the grumpy old Briar Bear in a deep croaking voice that sounded like the voice of a frog. Briar Bear thanked him and trotted down the road, growling fiercely. When Briar Bear was out of sight, Briar Rabbit jumped out of the mud. He washed himself in the pond and then scampered home, chuckling to himself at how he had escaped from Briar Fox and Briar Bear, already thinking of a new way to get into Briar Fox's goober patch and get him some peas to eat. All right, so this is kind of an interesting folktale here because it doesn't actually end with this rabbit being kind of punished, I guess is the way to put it. He hasn't learned anything from this situation, but make a prediction. Do you think that eventually they're going to catch on to Briar Rabbit and he's going to get caught by either the fox or the bear? Eventually, yes, exactly. Eventually, he's going to find himself in a predicament that he can't get out of. And if I were a rabbit facing a fox or a bear, it might not end well for the rabbit. Who knows? All right. So I'm going to let you guys, that would be Kaylee and Jack, and Kaylee S., you can actually add to this a little bit too. I'm going to have you guys write the group summary, including what the rabbit might learn later on when we are done with today. Just to remind you, we need a topic sentence, few details, and a conclusion sentence. All right. All right, so Jack says yes. All right, good. Moving on. Jeremy, what group were you in? Your microphone's on, Jeremy. You could just tell me. Oh, okay. Your microphone's on, Jeremy. You could just tell me.
The Bear Prince.
Perfect. All right, the Bear Prince. Here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute Jeremy and Ashley because she was in this group. Who else was in the Bear Prince? Christian. Okay, Christian, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you as well. And Corbin is in a different grade level, so he will be doing this later on. All right. Ashley, read what happened first to the group.
Okay. There once was a poor woodcutter with 3 very pretty daughters. The woodcutter was going to cut a tree down in the forest, but he ran into a bear. He was about to cut the tree down, but the bear flung the woodcutter's wood-cutting tool out of his hand. The bear said, "If you let me marry one of your pretty daughters, I won't kill you." The poor woodcutter knew that if he let the bear kill him, his daughters would die also because they don't have very much food. So the woodcutter said, "Fine, I'll do it." So he went home and told his daughters everything that happened.
Okay, so the bear is basically telling him you have to do this or I'll kill you. Next, Christian, what happened?
The 2 oldest daughters did not want to marry the prince, but the youngest daughter agreed. The next day the father took Nympha to the bear. Nympha would only marry the bear if they got married according to Catholic rites. When it became dark, the bear he chanted a spell that turned him into a prince. Nympha promised she would never reveal his secret. The next morning, the prince chanted another spell, turned him back into a prince. Nympha asked the prince if she could leave, but their prince did not agree. After her asking over and over again, he finally said yes.
All right. Okay, so far, it looks like she has married a prince who is disguising himself as a bear. It looks like she wants to leave, though. Ashley, why does she want to leave?
Because she wants to see her family.
Okay, so she misses her family. Okay. Jeremy, then what happened?
The next day, Nympha dressed herself richly and was on her way to see her family. Sadly, the devil filled her 2 sisters with envy, and so they kept making fun of Nympha. They kept repeating, "You married a bear, what a shame." Nympha finally lost her temper and told them
Her husband's secret.
the sisters told Nympha to break her husband's enchantment, and she did. The prince left and told her she would have to find him, but she will not see him until she finds the castle of faith. Nympha walked and walked until she saw a wizard, and the wizard gave her a nut and told her to follow the road to her father's house. He would know. The father does not know, so he hands her
So he sends
to his
her
eldest brother and gives her another nut. The eldest brother didn't know either, and she sends her to the moon, another wizard. He hands her a nut and says, "If you find yourself in trouble, break it."
Okay. All right, and lastly, I'll read that. She gets to the moon's house, and the servant tells her to hide because the moon is angry and could eat her. The servant asks the moon, but didn't know how the servant send Ninfa to the sun. Okay. Sorry, that was written kind of weird. She gets to the sun's house, and there was another servant who saves her from being burned, and Ninfa is able to tell her story to the sun. The sun knows but cannot take her, so he sends her to the wind. So finally, she gets to the wind's house, where she gladly takes her to the castle of faith. The servant tells Ninfa that the prince just got married and there is a celebration. Ninfa just wants to see the prince, so the servant tells her, okay, but to make sure the bride does not see you because she will get mad. The bride is an evil witch who blinds the prince and makes him marry her. She sees Ninfa and tries to get her. Ninfa breaks the first nut and turns into a rat. So the witch turns into a cat herself and the cat chases her. Then Ninfa breaks the second nut and turns into a grain of rice and gets lost in the prince's plate. The witch turns herself into a chicken and starts eating the rice. Lastly, Ninfa breaks the last nut and turns into a coyote and ends up eating the chicken with one bite. The prince and Ninfa will live happily ever after. All right, so there was a lot that went on in this particular story. I think, and it's from a different culture, so it's maybe a little bit different than what you're used to. Um, but what did we learn, or what did? Oh, okay, good. We have a group summary. We're going to go ahead and read this. So the story is about a woodsman and his family. The woodsman is cutting trees when a bear claims the woodsman is stealing the wood and wants to kill him. The woodsman instead pleaded with the bear to not kill him in exchange for one of his daughters to marry the bear. He tells his daughters, but the first two refuse, and only the youngest one agrees to marry the bear under the Catholic rites. They get married and live in this cave where the girl finds out that the bear is actually an enchanted prince who is a bear by day and human by night. One day, the girl is lonely for her family and asks the prince to go see her family. He says yes, but only if she promises not to reveal his secret. So this is where there was the problem. She does reveal the secret. Um, so what do we learn about, breaking promises from this particular folktale? What happens to her when she reveals the secret?
Um, what happens is the prince says he leaves and he says that she will not uh see him again if she does not find the castle of faith.
That's right. So basically, he says, I'm mad, and now I'm going to send you on this long journey to find the castle of faith to restore yourself. All right. And so then she has to go through a lot of different things to basically earn his trust back. Okay. He has to go to all of these different wizards, and they lead her on this big journey. Okay. So good pictures. Did anybody create a Wordle for this?
No, I tried making a Wordle, but every time I would push the go button for it to make it, it would like mess up and it wouldn't make it like saying plug in unavailable or something.
Oh, okay. Plugin. That means you have to do a Java update. So that's not a real hard thing to do. All you need to do is go to that apple at the top of your screen, look for software updates, click on that, and you should be able to update your Java, and then you'll be able to create a Wordle.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah? All right, Dakota, which group were you in?
Chili.
Yeah, that's your Latin America project. Did you do your folklore project? I believe you were in Johnny Appleseed's group.
No, I'm in Paul Bunyan.
Paul Bunyan. Okay. All right, Dakota. So take it away. What happened first in the story, Paul Bunyan?
Paul Bunyan was born in Bangor. His I gotta change this real quick.
His first bed was a lumber wagon pulled by a team of horses. His father had to drive the wagon to the top of Maine and back to the Rocky to rock the baby to sleep.
Okay. Next, what happened?
Paul Bunyan hollered. When Paul Bunyan hollered, he scared all the animals away. It would take 2 dozen cows to keep Paul Bunyan's milk bottle full day and night. His mother had to feed him 10 barrels of forage every 2 hours so his stomach would not rumble.
All right, so we're getting the sense that Paul Bunyan is a big kid. All right. Then,
Within a week of his birth, Paul could fit into his father's clothes. 3 weeks later, he could destroy 4 square miles.
okay.
Paul's parents made a raft and floated him off the coast of Maine. Soon the British Navy was sent to wake him up. When Paul turned over, he caused a 75-foot tidal wave in the Bay of Fundy.
Okay. And
Last,
then, yep, go ahead.
the sailors fired every cannon they had for 7 hours before Paul woke from his nap. Paul sank 4 warships and scrambled to scoop the soldiers out of the water so they didn't drown. Paul's parents decided that the East was just too plumb small for him, so his family moved to Minnesota.
Okay. All right. And here we have some great pictures and we have some wonderful wordles and then our group summary. Okay, I'm going to read that for us just because we're getting low on time. Paul Bunyan is a great folk tale. So, Dakota, I'm going to let you actually go back later and make sure everything is capitalized and do some of this editing. So, anytime you see a red mark, it's possible that there's a misspelling or something is wrong with it. The tale was as big as Paul was. Paul Bunyan's mother fed him 10 barrels of porridge every 2 hours to keep him full. His parents milked cows day and night so Paul would have enough milk. His parents built him a raft to sleep on after he destroyed 4 miles of timber yard. The Navy was sent to wake Paul up because he caused a 75-foot tidal wave. After firing the cannons for 7 hours, Paul finally woke up. He sank 4 warships and scooped up soldiers so they wouldn't drown. Paul and his family moved to Minnesota. So we're going to have to probably dig a little bit deeper on this one to find the moral of that story. But I want to make sure that I give you enough time to look at assignment number 2. So let's take a look here. For assignment number 2, it's actually pretty easy. You're going to do pretty much the exact same thing that you did last week, but it's going to be individual instead of as a group. You're going to choose a folktale, fable, tale, tall tale, myth, legend, or fairy tale of your choice by using this website. So you're going to click on it, and there are a ton to choose from. I just want you to kind of stay away from these ghost stories. That's not the type of stories that we're looking at right now. It'd be really great if you would choose one from this list right here. Although, as I was saying earlier, some of you might have, I don't know, maybe you have like Latin America or Native American roots. Maybe you want to look at one of those, and that's totally fine too. So what you'll do is you will create another Wordle for the folktale that you chose, and you will write a short summary. So you will just make your own Google Doc, very simple to do. So you'll just create, a Google Doc, and you could just type a couple, just a really short summary so that when you present it to the class, it'll be easy for you to do. So are there any questions on assignment number 2, which is due next Monday? Okay, all right. Any questions? Anybody? All right. Pretty easy stuff. I will see all of you on Thursday for either your DRA test or DRA test and MAP test, depending on if you took the MAP test with us in the fall. You'll take it again. Sorry about that. And if not, I'm going to let you go for today so that you can start exploring which one of these folk tales interests you. All right, guys. Go ahead and type a goodbye into the chat for today. Bye. Bye. Good job today. All right.